All right, so I'll give you my description, my definition, which is that it is you being overly invested in the feeling states, the outcomes, the circumstances, the relationships, the finances, the careers of the people in your life to the detriment of your own internal peace. So that is the important part, because all of us are lovers and sisters and mothers and friends and aunties and all the things. So obviously we're invested in the people we love getting what they want in life. But when you're in HFC, you're overly invested to the point where you feel responsible for other people's outcomes. What I always would guide you to do is take a resentment inventory. And if you do that, it'll become the GPS to what relationships you might be over-functioning in. Relationships you might need better boundaries in. Relationships you might need to set some limits in. You can ask yourself these two questions before, no matter what you're vibing on, before you commit to doing anything. Do I have the bandwidth to do this without becoming resentful? And number two, do I even want to do it?
Hey friend, I just wanted to thank you so much for stopping by and tuning into the podcast. It means the world to me. There are a lot of great podcasts out there, so it's truly an honor that you've decided to take the time out of your day to listen to mine. I'm really excited to bring on more and more inspirational guests for you. But before we get into it, I wanted to ask you a huge favor. If you're enjoying the show, would you please be so kind as to hit that subscribe button? I've noticed that over 98% of the people that watch our videos aren't subscribed, and subscribing really helps the algorithm put this episode in front of other people who it could help. And be sure to leave a comment sharing what most connects with you. So much love. Terri Cole, you've done it again. Oh
Susie
my
Moore.
gosh. Huge congrats on Too Much. I love this book. I love this book. Thank you for writing it. I mean, I've highlighted some of my favorite passages here. And one of them I wanted to highlight, which is what you share kind of towards the end, which is what you hope this book will do.
Okay.
So I thought I'd start by reading that and then we'd kick off from here. You say, it's my ultimate dream that more and more women recover from high-functioning codependency, ditching the disease to please and control others, and start living from a whole different paradigm of authenticity, inner peace, surrender, and flow. This means accepting, embracing, and celebrating yourself exactly as you are. Can we do it, Terri? That's the question. One question that I have reading this book is there a point you think where high functioning codependency, and I'd like to hear how you describe it in your own words in a second, but is there a point where we can be cured of this? Or is it something that you're still always working on, everyone's always going to be improving on, but just throughout our lives getting better and better?
Yes, I do not say you can be cured, because I do not believe that's accurate. It's the same way we're in recovery from other compulsive behaviors, same way that I don't drink because I'm in recovery for alcoholism. I never say I'm recovered, because I'm not. So what we do is we change our behavior. So with drinking, it isn't that I never feel like having a glass of wine. It's just that I changed my behavior and I don't. With being a high-functioning codependence or an HFC, it isn't like you won't have the desire to insert yourself or to give auto advice or whatever it is. It's just that as you get healthier and healthier, you just choose not to. You ask an expansive question instead of telling someone what you think they should do.
And Terri, I did read the book Codependent No More years ago. A therapist suggested it for me a long time ago because my father died of addiction. And I thought it was great. And I was like, but this is the book now. I don't know. Everything about this just feels so fresh and relevant and timely. How do you define high functioning codependency to the traditional codependency, which no one wants to be associated with, I think, essentially?
Yes. All right. So I'll give you my description, my definition, which is that it is you being overly invested in the feeling states, the outcomes, the circumstances, the relationships, the finances, the careers of the people in your life to the detriment of your own internal peace. So that is the important part, because all of us are lovers and sisters and mothers and friends and aunties and all the things. So obviously we're invested in the people we love getting what they want in life. But when you're in HFC, you're overly invested to the point where you feel responsible for other people's outcomes. And that is different. So how I came up with the term, why I coined this phrase, is because my extremely capable and high functioning clientele, my therapy practice, if I would point out to them, oh, hey, this is a codependent pattern that I'm seeing, they would immediately reject the notion of codependency because they were being still influenced by the codependent no more, Melody Beatty. You have to be enabling an alcoholic to be a codependent myth. There's a weakness to it. There's almost a pathetic feeling of like, if you're codependent, you're like long suffering, sitting at home, waiting for like your drunk person to come home or for the person who's spending all your money. It's not that. And so what I was going up against was I created this terminology for the modern woman because that is who it's for. And the irony with HFC, with high functioning codependency, is that the more capable you are, the less codependency looks like codependency, but it's still codependency. So we're still suffering.
And you share in the book, especially in the beginning, a lot about your sister and how you were just sliding right on in every time, offering help, offering support, drop of a hat. There you are, Terri, the good sister. Your husband, Vic, is like, you know, bless him. Like, I already love him. I haven't met him yet, but
maybe not.
Yeah,
he's like, poor thing.
But could you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that we do this, especially if someone feels like they might be in danger or that they're suffering, or we're the ones who are sane in this situation. Come on. Could you just share a little bit about that?
Sure. Because actually this was the pivotal moment in my life where HFC was born, truthfully, was this situation. So my sister was involved in an unhealthy, abusive relationship. She was living in the woods in a house with a guy who was doing crack. He was abusive to her. She was actively alcoholic. They had no running water and no electricity. So this is, for an HFC, this is like a 5-alarm fire every day. My life was, how am I getting her out of there? She needs to get the fuck out of there immediately, if not sooner. So I was crying to my therapist and I kept saying, you know, Bev, what am I going to do? And she said, Terri, let me ask you something. What makes you think you know what your sister needs to learn and how she needs to learn it in this lifetime? And I was like, well, I don't know. I think that we could both agree she doesn't need to do it with a crackhead in the woods. I mean, with no running water. Like, can we agree to that? And she said, no, Tara, I can't agree because I don't know what your sister needs to learn because I'm not God and neither are you. But do you know what's happening for you? And I was like, obviously not. Help what is happening for me. And she said, listen, you've worked really hard to create this harmonious life. Your sister's dumpster fire is really messing with your peace and creating pain for you. And you want to fix her so your pain will end. Wow. I was like, you are not wrong. That is accurate. And of course, I wanted my sister out of an abusive situation too, obviously. But the truth was, I wanted to just get back to my life. I wanted to not be distracted by this overwhelming sense that I was responsible for this. So I said, well, I didn't know I had a choice. I thought as a good sister, I have to just keep trying until I get her out. Like, isn't that what you do? And she said, you can create boundaries. You don't need to talk to her about this guy. And I was like, I don't, because, you know, my sister would call and when she'd get off the phone, she'd be like, oh my God, I always feel so much better after talking to you. And I was like, why do I feel like fucking Chernobyl right now? Like a toxic waste site. I don't feel better, let's be honest. And so she said, you have to create boundaries. So anyway, had a hard conversation with my sister saying, hey, I cannot talk to you about this guy. But when and if you're ever really ready to leave, I'll always be your person. Like, I'll always come, no matter what, no matter when. And I said, but I have to step back from this for my own sanity. And because I had just become a stepmother for 3 acting out teenage sons. I just became a psychotherapist after being a talent agent. I had just gotten married. Like, my life was very busy and very full. And my sister really did understand. I felt terribly guilty, of course. It's not like that was easy because it was hard. But about 9 months later, we talked a few times. But 9 months later, she called and said, "Are you still my person?" And I was like, "Getting in my car right now," which I did. And she got into recovery and she went back to school and she became a CNA and, like a certified nurse's assistant. And the most important part of the story was that instead of her youngest sister saving her, she got to be the hero of her own story, which is the only way it could work, Suze, because my therapist said to me, "Listen, Terri, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't save your sister. I'm telling you you can't, that it's actually impossible. It's an illusion that you have that you think you can, and it's not your job to." And for me, there was all this relief in a way for being let off the hook because I thought it was my job. I didn't know I could not do that and still be a good and loving sister. And that was many years ago, and my sister never got into another abusive relationship. And, it's like, again, it stuck because she did it for her instead of me centering myself and putting on my cape and, doing it the way that I thought it should be done. She was able to do it, and that was the beginning of me really understanding the cost of being a high functioning codependent.
Wow. And isn't it interesting too how your therapist at the time said that you're essentially the actions that you're taking are to soothe yourself, even though, it's like, I don't want to be in pain anymore. I don't want to be freaking out. Like, is she going to live? Like, what's going to happen? Isn't that so interesting? I was like, I'm like, we got to swoop on in and save it, because if there's a problem, you're going to be in pain. You're going to be scared. You're going to feel threatened. Do you think that underpins all high functioning codependent behavior? We just want everything to be okay so we can relax, so that we can feel some peace.
I mean, yeah, I do. I actually think that it's when we look at any kind of codependency, the foundation for codependency, of course, is disordered boundaries, but it's also a covert or overt bid or attempt to control other people's outcomes.
And you have a list here too, and I was like, "Ooh, this list! This list feels like you share." It's on page 29 in the book. You say, "The following are big and small real life examples from my community of what people tolerate." And it's interesting because some feel dramatic and some just feel like, "Oh, well, that's kind of just what you do," right? It's so easy to go, "Well, that's what you do," especially as you say, the women who you treat, who are so high achieving and fast moving, and they're so capable. It all looks so easy breezy. This is your list. I love it. Non-stop complaints from immediate family. Oof. Fake friends and chronic interrupters. Always being the one to travel to see family. Poor treatment, silent treatment, gaslighting, and other abusive behavior. Disrespect from kids or stepkids. Being the brunt of hostility under the guise of a joke. Double standards in relationships. For example, the friend who takes her sweet time in replying, if at all, but expects an instant response when she's the one reaching out. Doing more than your fair share of the housework, self-sabotage and self-medicating with alcohol, comments about weight and appearance, regularly on the receiving end of other people's drama and stress. I can imagine someone reading this going, "Well, isn't that just life?" Like, is it life, Terri? Or is this like, does this have to, because like, I have to travel to see my family. I've got the most flexibility. I've got the biggest budget, I guess, of course this friend expects immediate responses because she's so anxious. Like, if someone's got a feeling of that this is normal, what would you tell them? Any of these things?
Well, the only thing that matters is how you feel about these things. So what I always would guide you to do is take a resentment inventory. And if you do that, it'll become the GPS to what relationships you might be over functioning in. Relationships you might need better boundaries in. Relationships you might need to set some limits in. Because here's the thing. If this is life and you love doing all these things and you have literally zero problem with it, I have zero problem with it because it's your life. All that matters is where you feel frustrated, underappreciated, angry, starting to feel like a martyr, feeling a little bitter. That's not a life that you want. So that's who this book is for, right? Because you will have some people, And, I get a certain amount of pushback, Suze, obviously on
I
this
bet.
because, we don't
Yeah.
like to think of ourselves like this way. So some people will say, maybe, Terri, I'm just nice. Maybe I'm just being nice. And I say, if you can't not do it, it's not you being nice. It's a compulsion. If you are automatically doing this, if it's a knee-jerk reaction and there's no thought between the other person coming in and saying, I just had a terrible day at work, and you saying, then I think you should go take a bath right now. You'll feel so much better. Or whatever your auto advice giving is to solve that person's problem. That isn't being caring. You're doing it because their feeling is making you uncomfortable and you would like to be comfortable. So you're going to fix it so that you feel comfortable. Now, if once you get into recovery from high functioning codependency, you still choose to do many of these things, that's okay. It's your life, as long as you can do it without being bitter, because that's the end result. That if we never wake up to the fact that this is compulsive behavior and that we are doing it not for the reasons that we think we are, if you never wake up to that fact, that shit is a one-way ticket to Bitterland. There's only one stop on that train. The only place it can go, if you get into these over-functioning and under-functioning dynamics and relationships. I think let's talk a little bit about the behavior so people can see themselves.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
I'd love to.
All right. Giving unsolicited advice, right? Auto advice giving, we already know.
Yeah.
Being overly self-sacrificing, like always being willing to take one for the team. Auto accommodating. This is where you're out in public. You could auto accommodate in your home with your partner, right? You both supposed to be going out to work. He goes out first or she goes out first and there's a flat tire and you immediately say, take the other car, I'll Uber. You immediately fix the problem, right? That's auto accommodating where I just want the problem fixed. And it doesn't even have to be my problem. I give the example in the book of how auto-accommodating even came about as I created it as a phrase is because I was at my hair salon in New York City on a Saturday. I normally don't go on a Saturday because it's crazy. And I'm laying in the sink and I have a mask on my hair and I'm just laying there doing nothing. And now all of a sudden the sink traffic starts to back up. It's getting more and more congested. Each person that's standing online in their robe, looking at me doing nothing in the sink, I'm becoming more and more stressed out and anxious. I finally raise my hand. I get an assistant over and I'm like, I could move. I could sit somewhere else until this thing is done. You could use the sink. Like, Terri Cole, why do you think you're the one who needs to fix the sink flow at your salon? Who get on your own side of the street. That is not your side of the street. And of course, the assistant was nice, but she was kind of like, bitch, we do this every Saturday. We're good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But I had this thought and I was like, if I'm still doing this and I've had 800 years of therapy, I can't possibly be the only one. And this also is a distinction between like garden variety codependency and high functioning codependency, is that we can become codependently dialed into the environment that we're in. So it's not just a hair salon. You might be flying and see that two people want to sit together and I'll move. I can move. I see that you guys need this thing. Somebody needs directions on the subway. Again, there's nothing wrong with it if you think about it and you want to be helpful. But when we are just see a need and jump in to fix it, there is the compulsiveness. And what I teach you in the book is how to get dialed into your actual feelings, because we need to tolerate. And learn to tolerate and learn to understand and tolerate our feelings. Other behaviors, self-abandonment, right? Anticipatory planning. You know you're going to be with certain people. You're going to plan it to be a certain way so there's not a problem with those people. They might be demanding. They might need a particular thing. If you don't have the food that they like to eat, or if you don't, I always use this example, you got two uncles coming for Christmas and they don't get along. So you make sure you have the booze that they both like and you make sure they're not going to sit at the same table. And rather than just having an adult conversation and being like, hi, if you two idiots can't make it work, then one of you shouldn't come to the party. Right? All right.
Either of you. Yes.
How about you can both stay home? That would work great for me.
Yes.
But we don't do that because we feel it's our responsibility to puppet master and figure it out and make sure all the elements are in place. And the over and under functioning dynamic really is something that we can create, I kid around and say that in my 20s, I could take a perfectly capable man and turn him into an underfunctioner in 2 weeks or less. Right? Because I was so quick to be like, I got it. It's good. I got it. I mean, that's like the HFC mantra is I've got it and it has to be me. So those are some of the behaviors.
You know, it's interesting. I went to a birthday party recently for a friend, and this surprised me. She told me after the party when we got together that she was anxious all day about new people meeting and what if it rains and we have to come inside. And, you know, a couple of people have, I think, quite politically different, they come from quite different places. And I was just so surprised because the whole day of her birthday, she was anxious. We had a great time. You know, I wouldn't have guessed, but that is the auto, like, or the pre-planning, the pre-paving. How do I, and so this just shows up even on fun occasions, even in.
Absolutely. I was being interviewed by Carolyn Hobby for her pod, and she told me, she was like, Terri, I'm such an HFC, I eloped. I was so afraid to have a wedding that I knew I wasn't going to have fun. I'd be so worried about other people who's not getting along. What is the problem? Maybe the food. Maybe I would never have fun. I literally eloped to avoid that. She's like, that's how much of an HFC I was.
Wow. You know, one thing that I've been thinking, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to ask Terri this, is in my HFC behaviors, one thing that I justify to myself, like if this kind of, I don't know, you see if this qualifies. I feel like I vibe such high love, not all the time, but a lot of the time I am in a state of euphoria. Like I love my life. I feel like I've been given so much. Then I can do more. Like oh gosh, now I'm saying it already. Oh gosh, sounds textbook now. But I'm like, I'm vibing pure love. I've got it. I'll pay for it. I'm gonna like, and it in the moment I'm like, yeah, and it feels. And then sometimes, maybe in quieter moments, I'm like, oh, I've overcommitted. Maybe I feel slightly taken advantage of. It's not heavy, but it's there. But in the moment, the vibing pure love, and I'm like, I've been given a lot. Isn't it my responsibility to share and to take care of others?
No, it is not. So here's the thing.
Okay.
And you can ask yourself these two questions before, no matter what you're vibing on, before you commit to doing anything. Do I have the bandwidth to do this without becoming resentful? And number two, do I even want to do it? Because as HFCs, a lot of times we really don't even take into consideration if we want to do it because we are these high-performing people pleasers. And so if someone else wants me to do it, then I kind of want to do it because they want me to do it. So I want them to be happy and to get what they need, and to, especially if I care about them. So those two questions we have to really ask ourselves, because I think a lot of things would come out of our day planners if we were honest about, do I even want to do it?
And in those moments of like, you know, it's almost like when you're in a really good mood, you just feel like, yeah, you know, and so I don't know, maybe the word that's coming up now is like, it's almost like an apology. It's like, well, my life is really nice, you know, and I know that you've got like some struggles that I don't. And so couldn't I just step in? Like, couldn't I just?
Right. But isn't that interesting that you're making their life about you? It's a comparison game. And their life is not about you. They've had their struggles and their triumphs. Everyone has the right to succeed or fail, to thrive or flail. And I feel like when we're HFCs, we really do not like anybody around us flailing.
No.
We're not into it at all. And if we can help them not, we want to. But what if I told you, I think that the biggest flex in a relationship is being willing to be in the foxhole with your people during their dark night of the soul and not trying to fix them. Like, I will compassionately witness you in your not knowing. Even though your not knowing is creating anxiety for me, I'll tolerate that anxiety. I'll ask you, how can I best support you? Right? When we get into recovery, we go from auto advice giving to asking expansive questions. No matter who comes to me for anything, before I give my 2 cents, and I still may, it depends. Maybe they're paying me to give my 2 cents, I still will say, whether it's a 9-year-old, a 17-year-old, or a 60-year-old, okay, before I say anything, what do you think you should do? What does your gut instinct say?
Yeah. Oh, and there's such dignity in the question. It's like, well, you have a brain, you have a life, you have feelings,
Yes.
you have your intuition,
Right.
you have your own inner guidance.
And what we're not doing is centering their problem on us and our grade A advice. It's so much more loving to be like, you don't know. And when you're with me, you don't have to. I'll ask you how I can best support you. I'll let you tell me, and then I'll try to do that thing instead of me assuming I know the best way, because it's all projection. We support people the way we want to be supported, right? It's so basic, like, it's like therapy 101, right? But it's much more loving, and it is challenging. So listen, let me first also, now I'm not trying to make it look like this, and I do this with ease. I don't do this with ease. I do this with effort because it's worth the effort.
And it's still effort for you. Like, it's for Terri Cole. It's still, you're like, biting my tongue now. Like, oof.
Yes.
I know the solution. I know the solution this time. Like, you're like, yes. I actually really know the answer to this. And you're like,
and you may still share it though, because imagine how much your life would change if it just wasn't the first thing that you did. Imagine how much your life would change and your relationships. Because here's the thing, when we stay actively HFC, there is a glass ceiling of our own making that happens in our businesses and in our relationships. Because if you are doing this in your business, if you are micromanaging people, if you are overworking for the people who are supposed to be working for you, if you are overly invested and involved in their bullshit, their family life, their problems, their whatever the hell they're doing, that's a glass ceiling, because you will not build an empire that way. And if you do this in your personal life, you don't even know the people that you love. You really don't know them, because you're not every beautiful, ripe opportunity to know them. Instead of knowing them, you insert yourself. Instead of asking them and then just shutting up. Let your people talk. Let kids talk. You have a kid who comes home and they're 10 years old and they've got a problem at school. And instead of you being like, well, you're going to march into the principal's office tomorrow. Instead, you go, okay, in your own words, tell me what happened. And then tell me what you think you should do.
Wow. And the intimacy that you get to understand a person, right? Because it's kind of like when you say there's a ceiling, it becomes quite narrow when it's me. You learn nothing from yourself, right? You learn nothing talking, sharing what you already know or believe to be true. So in business, in relationships, one thing that happened to me recently, Terri, that was tricky. I knew that I was managing it badly. A friend of mine's having a lot of fertility struggles. It's been many years, a lot of expense, a lot of heartache. I mean, I think, oh, gosh. And I was just so cheerful about it and sending miracle stories and like this woman. And she's like, I don't want to hear that anymore. I feel like so down. Like I think I need a break or something. And I was like, okay, well, I'll send flowers. What might she need? Like what do I do? And I'm like, I didn't ask her.
Yeah.
I was too busy sending miracle stories and telling stories about how this woman who's this age and this happened and this was a surprise, thinking like, oh, let's just get back into the vortex with it.
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't want to hear that. Lovingly. I mean, that's a classic example of this too, right? Stepping right in and trying to offer some solutions.
Oh, absolutely. But listen, that's a beautiful realization, right? That's beautiful self-reflection on your part. And what you could do, right? When you think about it, let's do that scenario. What could we do differently, or what could you do now? How are you doing? I know this last round didn't work. How are you about it? And then just stop talking.
I think at this point she thinks it's over. And
here's the thing.
And I don't want to accept it. I'm like, I don't know. There are all these miracles. See, Terri, me, right? I'm like, but I feel,
But we have to understand ourselves and our own motivation. Like, this has been your winning formula in your life. And And so it's threatening. For your friend to give up makes you feel threatened, which I understand because we are can-do HFCs. So we're like,
we never give
don't
up.
give up.
Yeah.
Never.
Never. Like the
Bloody
Winston
pulp
Churchill.
on the ground. Literally, I'm a bloody pulp. And I'm like, wait, I have one more idea. No, I think we can do it still.
Yes. It's like there's more breath in me. Like I can yeah, so but it's I gotta step back. Gotta just ask questions.
Because also for her, you again, just like Bev said to me, my therapist, you don't know what and how your friend needs to learn in this lifetime. You don't. You don't know that this infertility won't lead to adopting the right and perfect kid. You don't know that this infertility will lead her to be a volunteer. Who the hell knows? And the thing is, we can't know. And the motivation to try to convince her not to give up is for you, which you know. And of course, you love her. You want her to get what she wants. But real love is us accepting people, being in the foxhole, and saying, I'm going to be here. That's the real flex. That's actually holding space, is I'm going to be here with you, even if you're giving up.
Yeah. Wow.
Because maybe that's your path. Maybe that's what's meant to be for you. Even though I would never give up. You're not me.
No.
And the thing is, when we're HFCs, we go through life a lot wanting people to be like us.
This is true. And I'm sure we're annoying. I'm sure there's something annoying about, I mean,
But we're also phenomenal, though.
Yeah.
So this is the truth, Suze. We are. And so part of the thing with being an HFC is that our capability, our brains, our ability to problem solve, our ability to not give up, these are all amazing qualities that you guys listening or watching, you will still have these qualities. When you get into recovery, you just become a better version of yourself. You create relationships with real mutuality. Instead of codependency, you have interdependency, and you learn to surrender to what is. You learn to allow other people, because another trait of high functioning codependency is hyper-independence, where we don't love asking people for help. We don't love receiving help. We love giving it. We're really not great at receiving it, which also negatively impacts our relationships. And it's funny, I was doing, what's her name? Jay Shetty's wife, Sadi. She has a show called A Really Good Cry. I just went out to LA to do it. And we were talking about this. And I saw the similarity between she and Jay and Vic and I, where there are some HFCs that end up marrying someone who's even more of an HFC than them. So like, I do all the things for all the people, but Vic is a highly capable person. And it's almost like I could only ever marry someone who was more of an HFC than me, or I would never have relaxed in my life. Like it was the first time I could ever just exhale being with Vic, because he's so fucking capable. I don't have to worry. He knows how to do everything the right way. He never takes a shortcut. My nervous system is very relaxed around my husband, because he has the capability to take care of me and wants to. And he's one of very few people in the world still, even though I'm in recovery. And listen, I have friends who I receive from and all of that. But, and I said to Sadi about Jay, I said, he's an HFC. And she was like, he totally is. You're so right. Because I knew it. I was like, I'd read that he'd planned the entire honeymoon. And I was like, this is not someone who's doing all the things, but coming from a family where you're doing all the things. She's a huge HFC with her family. And I mean, some with Jay as well. But anyway, it's just interesting to see the way either we're in a relationship with someone where we are doing all the things and it is a super over and under functioning dynamic with a lot of resentment. Or if you found someone who's also HFC-ish, you probably have, you could strike a balance.
Do you have this really efficient marriage then as a result? If there are two HFCs, you're like, I got it. No, I got it. Like your life just would like almost appear so flawless, but everyone's kind of anxious under the surface. Like, are you okay? No, are you okay? I know that with my husband, if I'm stressed, or if I think he's stressed out, I can't relax. I want him to, like him being with his stress. I'm better now, but I'm like, okay, I've got to make him laugh. I've got to tell him some good news. We need to go out. Something has to happen. Like him just being stressed out is very uncomfortable. It's like I'm in it too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And listen, again, we can get into recovery, but of course we're still going to be impacted by the primary people in our lives. And it's funny, I would say with Vic and I, because we both had a lot of therapy, even though we're both very high functioning, now it's less to acting out HFCs and it's more what healthy codependency is, which is that I can rely on him to do the things he says he'll do. He can rely on me. Whoever gets up last makes the bed, the other person always says thank you. Whoever, unloads the dishwasher, the other person says thank you. Like we're like ridiculously polite and caring with each other in that way.
Yes.
It might sound stupid, but I find that this is the way when you treat each other very with kindness, you are endlessly putting money into the well of goodwill. And when the shit hits the fan in life, because it will, you have all of this durability within the relationship because you like each other, because you think about each other, because you don't think that your partner works for you. Like everything Vic does for me is voluntary. Everything I do for Vic is voluntary, right? Like nobody works for anybody. We have agreements, but there's a lot of equitability, which creates a very happy, healthy, both people feeling very acknowledged and recognized type of relationship.
How healthy and how lovely to observe, because you see relationships and often it's the woman who's like bossing the husband around or the husband who's in charge, and then you see there's like a tension, and then when you observe a marriage that seems harmonious, where there's respect, there's like space given, yet it's like a wanting to be together, a wanting to help, a wanting. One thing that came to mind as you were speaking before, Terri, was when it came to like swooping in and saving, like swooping in, like with I got the solution, I'm on it. It really takes the pressure off, and you do share this in the book, having to say the perfect thing, right? Because I think that comes up too, right? When we have struggles with the people that we love, I think, okay, what's the perfect thing to say? Like, what is the perfect? People are chat GPTing this now. I've heard like there's a huge trend. What to say when? What to say when? And isn't it? I just think that that's such a relief. It's like, oh, I don't have to go. Okay, well, these are the 3 steps. And what you need to know, here's this metaphor, like internalize it.
You're putting it down though. Part of the relief that you feel, Suze, is how the overwhelming relief I felt when I realized what wasn't my responsibility. It's putting it down. And then you have all this bandwidth to heart connect, to actually connect. Instead of worrying about saying the right thing, you ask questions. Always just start with, if someone is in some kind of crisis, how can I best support you right now?
It's so
how
generous.
Are you?
Yeah. It's so, and even I'm just thinking like to receive those questions would feel so nice to me.
Of course.
And it would help me think of things, because I'd have even just the opportunity to have a second to think, what actually could I use right now? What would be useful versus... Oh my gosh. So when you see people working on their high functioning codependency, Terri, what kind of transformations do you see? Like, what are they big shifts? Are they subtle? I'm sure it's a bit of both, but what have you observed that's just been so pleasurable for you to see along the way?
To see the big changes in the way that parents relate to children and adult children is so beautiful, because what you see is the change in the kid. You see the kid stepping up. You see the kid feeling confident because the parent isn't micromanaging them, because the subtext of that micromanagement is, I don't think you can do it. That's what when you insert yourself and you're going to fix all the problems for the kid, what you're saying is, I think you're a loser. And the kid's like, me too. So now we all think I'm a loser and you're the only winner is the parent. So we don't want them to think that, right? When we respect children, and we turn around and ask them a question, and then we give them the floor. right? What does it look like when Vic is having a problem? These are changes I see, but I can even use it in my own relationship. If Vic's telling me something, I'm so into being like, okay, but then what happened? And then what'd he say? And then how'd you feel? And then what happened? Like, I'm not waiting for an opening to bring this shit back to me. He fully has my attention and the floor. And is there more? Is there something else? Like, there's so much expansion, and talk about the deepening of the intimacy in the relationships. That's one of the main things that I see. Because when we are not treating people as projects, nobody likes to be a project. It doesn't feel good. And when you're on the receiving end of feeling like you're a problem that your friend is trying to fix, it's so condescending, right? It pisses me off so much. I do not like people trying to manage me. And I will straight up say it to anybody. I'll be like, I feel like you're trying to manage me, and don't, please. Not helpful. What is helpful, and I give you scripts in the book, of course, about asking for what we need. Because listen, we're not, it's not just us, right? It's funny. Boundary Boss was written and it was all about how to get other people to stop trampling on our boundaries. And now with Too Much, this book, there's a lot of understanding that we can be the boundary tramplers inadvertently. We're not meaning to be. But when we automatically give advice, we are stepping on somebody's boundary. Even if they've asked us for advice, I always say, okay, before we get to that, tell me what you think you should do. Just get used to having that be the first thing you say to people, because that alone, if that's the only thing you took away from this podcast, it will literally change your life and certainly change your relationships for the better.
I can already say, I mean, the closeness you'll feel, the relaxed nature that you'll be able to live with, the curiosity too that's kind of sparked with this versus problem solution. I got it because I've been there and I know everything. And I think we all know this, right, Terri? Everyone's waiting to just interrupt and go, this is okay. Well, back in 95, when this happened to me, right?
Totally.
When my identity was stolen, when I was divorced, when it's like, yeah. So I think that we can always observe it separately, but when it's us, we're like, so much just comes up. And, you say that a lot of the time too in the book, that often it's when we're young, we're pleasers. This behavior becomes like making sure everything's good. Terri, I love how you've broken this down. You speak about narcissistic parents. You speak about love bombing. I mean, we cover the gamut here. I mean, we do. I mean, I was thinking as I was reading it, I'm like, this must have taken Terri like 40 years in a sense to write, like, because the subway story, oh my gosh, I was like, what?
I'll quickly tell it, but we have to tell it because they won't know.
Oh my gosh.
Right, so I was, as an HFC and very efficient, I was always rushing everywhere. This is part of my own personality. Though. Some people are not like that. That was just me. So I living in New York for many, many years, and I would complain to my therapist all the time about, I'm getting on the subway to go to work. Nobody knows how to take the subway. They don't step out of the door. I was like so frustrated. And she was like, Terri, you can come in here and you keep talking about this. I have to tell you, I think the problem is you endlessly rushing. So I'm going to give you homework. For this entire week, you're going to add 30 minutes to your commute. And you must be the last person on the train. And I was like, wait, what? Because of course I was always jockeying to be in the exact right spot. So I would be the first person on the train so I could get a seat. And if someone didn't step out of the door, I was definitely that person being like, getting on, like yelling out loud like a psycho, like please. And what I learned by forcing myself to be the last person on the train was, first of all, how much of my anxiety and frustration was self-created. So let's just start there. Nothing bad happened because I was the last person on the train. I was so much more relaxed. And that literally changed my life in a way. It was like, she was so brilliant in the way that she would just give me things to actually do because she knew I was such a fucking know-it-all that she couldn't just tell me. Like it would have to be experiential for it to stick for me.
Yes.
And that is something that it made me realize how disordered my relationship to time was, because I was someone who was always early, but I was always rushing. And even if I didn't rush, I would have still been 15 minutes early to everything, if not more. And it made no sense. So anyway, this cured me of that. But there was really something revelatory about realizing how much of this shit that was going on was an inside job, and that the empowerment was that I could change it by changing my mind about it.
Terri, you did an Insta story or a reel maybe a year or two ago. I learned so much from you. I love following your stuff. And you were like, I decided I'm not rushing ever again. I am not rushing. I'm like you. I mean, or how you used to be. I'm always early, kind of smug about it too. I'm like,
please. So yes. Judging the shit out of late people always.
I'm like, you're entering with an apology. That's a very weak position.
Totally. Sweating, saying you're sorry to everyone. Way to start a meeting.
And here I am poised and like 10 minutes early, like totally caffeinated, looking great. And I'm like, but my friends would joke, like, you're like a Swiss train. I'm very reliable, very on time, but I am anxious about it. And my elder sister, she's like, she's like, you're not relaxed though. You might be on time, and it's good. It's polite. But she's like, don't fool yourself that it's some superior. I'm like, my mom's like that. You can't leave anyone waiting. Like we're always an hour early to anything. And so you help, like, I'm not rushing. I was like, you're allowed to not rush. Like you're allowed, Terri.
And to question the whole thing about needing to be so early too. Vic and I used to have conflict around this because he would, in my mind, make me late and I would make him way early to things. So we would fight about this in the beginning of our relationship, which is funny because we never fight about anything. We really don't. That's the only thing in all the 27 years that we had conflict about. We disagree on things, but this was like, became like a polarization thing. And I was like, what? Because the deal, anyway, we got into therapy to figure that out, which we did. There was a whole passive aggressive anger thing. He couldn't be angry at me because he was afraid that then I would leave. And he was, a widower with 3 teenage sons. So, there was good reasons to not want me to leave. But of course, no relationship is perfect. And of course, there were things I do that bugged him or that made him angry, but he couldn't express them because it was too threatening to him. So he would do it in this crazy way where he would make me late, then I would be rageful and I would be feeling his anger and my anger. That's a whole other podcast.
Wow. Yes.
Passive aggressive anger. It's so intense.
Wow.
But it's interesting what you're saying about what your sister said, because the truth is when you get a hold of it, of the not rushing anymore, you also want to look at what time do I want to arrive? I feel perfectly comfortable arriving 10 minutes before something. I'll get a cup of tea. I'll find a place to sit. I'll sit in the lobby. I don't mind. I'm happy to be. I want to be at my gate probably an hour and a half before a plane. That's me. Some people think that's too long, but you can't travel with me. Like with me, that's when I'm going to be there. That's it. I'm always early to things. That's how I take care of my own nervous system, but I don't rush. I leave in enough time where I'm going down the 405. It's 5:30 in the morning. I'm not rushing to get to LAX because I know, and that's where we take away the neurotic piece is when you go, I'm not going to rush, and I'm still going to be as early as I need to be comfortable. That's okay. It doesn't have to be an hour, right? You can give yourself, let it be 10 minutes, and you'll be comfortable and not have that anxiety,
Oh, Terri, I learned so much from you. Like I hope there are many more books coming from you. I mean, I'm not sure if you're already working on or in your mind.
I am.
Oh, can you reveal anything yet, or top secret, or is it not formed yet? I know that feeling too.
Oh, listen, it's formed. Okay. Trust me. It comes out in 2026. So I will reveal it here, but only here.
Lucky us.
It's about the father wound. And it's called Big Daddy Issues.
Oh, Terri, fast forward to 2026. I can't wait. Big Daddy Issues. I've seen your work on the father wound too, or some of your courses or your workshops. Yeah. Wow. Terri, thank you for coming back on the Let It Be Easy podcast. Too much available everywhere books are sold. Anywhere we should go.
Yes, I have a gift for you guys.
Woohoo!
It's basically an HFC toolkit. If you're like, where do I start? This is where you're going to start. terricole.com/HFC. I also have a podcast myself, as you know.
Yes.
That you have been on.
Yeah.
Called The Terri Cole Show.
Yes.
And people can follow me on Insta, but get your toolkit, and there'll also be a link there to get the book, because I want you guys to get all the bonuses when you get the book. There's so many bonuses. We have a book club. There's a million things that I give away when you buy a copy of Too Much, a guide to breaking the cycle of high functioning codependency.
Terri Cole, thank you for being you, for existing, for doing your work, for being part of my world and our listeners' world. We love books. We love self-help, and Too
Yay.
Much. Thank you so much, Terri. Until next time, watch this space. Stay tuned for much more fun from Terri Cole.